Break OTR.
And you are listening to the Old Tube Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen,
greetings to you.
wherever you are, for music and the latest news from home and from afar, the station for you is
OTR, Old Tube Radio.
the station for you is
OTR.
The station for you, OTR, especially if you are into those vintage, classic, great-sounding 11-meter tube radios manufactured from 1958 to 1978, somewhere in there. We'll be revisiting those tonight as our tube radio operators check in. Hello to those on Channel 11, 27085, where we transmit here in the Central Valley of California, and hello to all of you on Google, YouTube, maybe tuning in the video, and elsewhere at oldtuberadio.net on the live stream. We hope to hear some classic Christmas holiday check-ins tonight. And with that said, let me stand by and see who is out there on the Old Tube Radio Network.
37. 45.
All right, and to heard, there will be more, I'm sure, as we will be here until at least 10 p.m. Pacific time tonight. My name is Dennis, and let's see what we've got. Paul, take a seat up in the green room. Have some Christmas cookies and eggnog. We will be right with you. But first, let's head over to Christopher. What's going on? Over.
Well, in there watching a movie just came on, but I figure I'd get in here real quick before I get too involved in it. I want to check in right now my general radio telephone, my Super MC11A, 24-channel version of this one here. They got 23s and probably some less and more. I'm not really sure about all they got, but I know I got this one. And we are running this here with a handheld stock microphone. Over.
Sounds great for stock audio, and I hope you have your radio appropriately decorated for the season here.
Well, I see green on it, and if I look at the top, I see some orange-looking glows in there.
Yeah, you know, you just reminded me, the way these tube radios are, a lot of times you don't have to do much decoration because thanks to the glowing tubes. And in this case, as we put a picture up over at oldtuberadio.net and over in the YouTube video, you'll see there's a little bit of green beaconing through the channel selector there.
Yeah, and also on the signal strength meter, it glows with a bright white light.
On stock audio, stock microphone, and that is a very good testimony to how great these radios are with their tube audio and components to get the job done with little or no extra stuff. The way you bought the radio is the way it sounds, and a good deal. General Radio Telephone Super MC11A. Not the last radio from General Radio Telephone, but one of the last in the early 1970s with 9 tubes, and they even snuck a couple of transistors in there because they could. You are radio number 1 on our list tonight. Thanks, Chris, for jumping out from the holiday festivities over there. I'm sure they will understand. Before you go back, give us another transmission on the General Radio Telephone Super MC11A.
You betcha. And like you said, this wasn't the last one, but it wasn't the first one either. So there's a lot in below and above. So hey, hopefully we get more there and up to here and then even this one. So anyway, Dennis, thank you. And if I can, I'll try to get back. But like I said, I'm in a movie, and I will try if I can. Have a good evening, Dennis. Thank you.
All right. Well, if this is the one radio you get tonight, it's a good one. Nice and loud and a good representation of what we're doing here tonight. And a very good specimen, I might say, of old tube radio-ness. Sounding loud and clear right on frequency, doing a good job here at the Old Tube Radio Network, where we check in those real radios glowing in the dark. Let me say also hello to SWL32. And that is Doyle out there. He is on our list here on page 2. Let me put the X in the square. And hope you are having a good, we'll have a good Christmas, you and the family out there. Thanks, Doyle, for checking in. And if I go to my proper page here, I will get you officially checked in on the big board. Now, stepping up to the microphonium, brushing off the Christmas cookie crumbs is Paul, SWL 45. Over.
Yeah, Dennis. I want to check in my Browning Golden Eagle Mark II Series B.
The Browning Golden Eagle Mark II Series B. Hey, great, we have a picture. Let me see if I can pop that up. We're a little bit shy on the Mark II pictures. A really pretty radio. I know the Mark III series with the big transmitter and the big receiver garners a lot of attention, but boy, the Mark II is also a really good-looking radio. Back to you.
Yeah, the receiver of the thing looks a lot like the Mark III, but the transmitter doesn't look like either one of them very much. Maybe it'll look like the 4, but that's about it. It's a little different. Neat-looking radios. Very good radios. This thing is super loud. I know it is. I'm talking arm's length on it today. And stock microphone. That's Electro Voice Banana microphone. Stock radio, phone, and everything. But anyway, this thing is a 2-piece radio with a transmitter and receiver. And all told, it's got 12 tubes in it between the two. It's a big radio, not as big as the 3, because of the transmitter is not as big as the 3, but it's a big radio. Anyway, I'll let you fill in some stuff.
Okay, and there is, if you're at oldtuberadio.net, that's the picture at the top of your device screen there, showing the Mark II Series B transmitter, about a little more than half the size of the receiver, and it's AM only. When they went to the Mark III, on the sideband radio anyway, they incorporated the sideband. I think with this setup, you could have got a sideband and adapter and some other things. You could make this about 5 or 6 pieces, I think, if you've got the amplifier. But this is the stock radio. The Series B, what was the B in the Series B? It says it has the on-the-air light, and I'm assuming that is what's underneath the big flying eagle on the receiver. Over.
Right. It wants to ping when it wants to ping, so I'm not pressing it any. I have the separate SSB 15 sideband transmitter and 110 trans adapter that ties into this thing, makes it a sidebander. If you get them all tied together, it's 40 inches long, over 3 foot. It's a large radio with all the things you got to add to them. Very interesting. Just like you said, on the old cars, you can add things to it. That was last week, I think you said that. It's the same way with Browning and all these guys. Anyways, real neat radio. Really enjoy it. I just hope it's not too loud. I don't like a radio that's too loud. Does it sound okay, guys?
No, it sounds good. It sounds good. The Brownings can get loud. Typically, they don't get overmodulated loud. I think you said your arm's length away from the microphone, so it's doing good. I'm looking at the S meter, about an S8 modulating up to an S9. You're above the noise and very loud. And I should mention that you can, those checking in, or if people want to hear what we did here, we archive the show, or the net, I should say, at oldtuberadio.net. There's an archive button at the top of the page. If you click on that, it will bring down a big list that will load into the OTR magnetophone, all those little 3-inch reel-to-reel tapes. And you look for the date, like today's date, and whether it's an SWL or a tube radio check-in, and load that up on your media player, and you will be able to hear exactly what I hear through the receiver to give yourself your very own radio check at oldtuberadio.net. But in the meantime, Live is doing a good job, and you will be pleased with the way radio number 2 sounds, the Browning Golden Eagle Mark II Series B. Back to you.
Yeah, I wouldn't miss the archives or anything. It's just like having another show. It's really good. Try to look at the whole thing again. I always miss something. Anyway, that's about it with the radio on this Browning. I really like it. It's a super radio. It's not as popular as the 3, but I'll tell you what, it's just as good, if not better. Thanks for checking it in, Dennis.
All right, well, I think they kept tweaking a little bit on the Mark II series, the Series B, and extra parts and pieces, and at some point, they decided we could put all this together in one radio, and hence the Mark III, which had a very good run from about 1972 to 1976. The only thing that sort of moved that along was the 40-channel change. Thanks for radio number 2. I'm not sure, we don't give credit, normally we give credit to you if it's your shot of your radio, but that one doesn't say that it's yours, although it's a shot from outside. I know a lot of your radio photos are taken outdoors. Thanks for bringing by radio number 2. And you're listening to the Old Tube Radio Network. Let's see if the Jingle Singers can step away from, I'm trying to get to them through the rack here, if they can see me, and get them to step away from the eggnog and tell us a little bit about what happens here on Saturday nights on the Old Tube Radio Network.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, your favorite spot on the dial by far is known to you as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
The station for you is OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network. We're looking for radio number 3. I want to wave a hand watching the video tonight. EDA 396, good to have you in there again. Say Merry Christmas to all the tube radio operators and SWLs from Nashville, Tennessee tonight. You are listening to the Old Tube Radio Network. We are listening for Radio 3. Also want to wave a hand to our good friend out there in Monterrey, Mexico, tuning in. I haven't seen you on the big board for a while. Anyway, happy holidays to you, and maybe we'll have your favorite radio check-in tonight. Who knows? Number 7. Radio, the Old Tube Radio Network, 7.
This is group number 7 with the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB.
Well, if we are doing the chronological thing, I think the next radio after the Mark II Series B would indeed have been the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III, either AM or SSB, and there it is. You've got it. We'll grab a picture of it while you take a transmission.
There you go. The on-the-air light is lit up, telling me that something's going on. The little needle is swinging over to the side. Oh, and this one has the gold-plated limited edition D104 attached to it, and that's about it.
Well, I guess you have to have a microphonium attached for me to hear you, and that's a good one to have. Looks like you've spotted up very good, and if you take that microphone and do something to it, you can probably make the on-the-air light go on.
There you go, or actually I could fix that and do something a little different. There we go with a little bit longer of the ping type item.
Okay, I don't want to give away any secrets of the Radio Shack out there, but you did that quite quickly, so is that something on the microphone that you're changing, or is there something on the radio that you changed to do that?
No, actually that's in the back of the radio. I have the little short one like that one, or a medium or long.
All right, the 3-set ping, no waiting. There is a way, and someone early on discovered that you could do a very simple modification to extend or maybe not extend the amount of ping. For those who do not have Browning Golden Eagles, the ping is the name that we refer to that noise, that little squeal. The eagle cry that you hear when Ed first keys the microphonium. And back in the day, if you were having a very long conversation with your neighbor or a station with the Browning Golden Eagle, after about 10 minutes, some people would just say, that screech at the beginning is driving me nuts. And if you have the switch like Mr. Ed does, you could put it in the very short ping position and maybe keep the sanity of the station you were talking to. But here at the Old Tube Radio Network, we like the ping. It doesn't matter what length it is.
Well, in that case, we'll add just a little extra flavor at the end on this one. Thank you much, Dennis. I'll have to turn some more tubes on here and let them warm up.
All right, we will be here for another hour, probably, to grab any of the tube radios. What we're listening to, what Ed brought by, is the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB from Browning Laboratories, first making its appearance in 1972. Got a good 3 or 4 year run. So there actually are a lot of radios still out there, and because they were so well built, there's still a lot of them out there. And a lot of people know that they are worth keeping and fixing up, and a lot of people do that. The original price was, in 1972 dollars, about $700 to $750. So this was something that you didn't just go picking up lightly. You had to save your money, and you had to convince your XYL, if he wasn't into radios already, that this is indeed something you needed instead of that new console color TV. The Old Tube Radio Network, real radio is glowing in the dark. Looking for radio number 4. Thanks, Ed.
27 with a Christmas Tree Lane Mobile report.
All right, as promised, I like our Christmas Tree Radio teaser that we did earlier, and there we are. Are you somewhere in the bowels of Christmas Tree Lane now, over?
Oh, Roger, I just crossed under the Christmas Tree Lane lit sign, so I finally made it on officially. And doesn't look like there's any power outage around here. Everything is calm and bright.
Boy, that's great. Boy, are the lines that long? I go by the corner of Moroa and Shields all the time at about 5:30 or 6 p.m., and they are already starting to block off the traffic and redirect things. So it sounds like this is a busy night tonight for Christmas Tree Lane.
Roger, roger. The line starts at Blackstone and Ashland, and it goes south on Blackstone to Shields, and then up to Van Ness, and we started at 7:45, so we're finally on officially.
Wow. Okay. And I think Christmas Tree Lane is approximately, I want to say, 2 miles in length. So you will probably have another good hour of enjoying the sights and sounds that are Christmas Tree Lane. Over.
Oh, roger, roger. Yeah, it goes a little faster when you get on the lane, but yeah, it's 2 lanes here, and it'll go a little quicker than that. But we just started, so we're enjoying it.
All right, your signal is pretty good. And someone had asked earlier, there is a shot of Christmas Tree Lane here in Fresno. If you're at oldtuberadio.net, it is an older, what they call a boulevard or a lane. It's a 2-lane street, but it's 2 miles of very fancy and nice older homes in an older neighborhood that has a lot of very tall pine trees grown up along the side of the road. And so not only do the residents there, who are on very large lots, at least here for California, half-acre lots and the like, take a lot of time and effort to put some spectacular displays in their yards as you drive up the lane. The entire, all the trees and the large trees also along the houses are lit up with decorations, as you can see. They go way up into the trees. It takes them a couple of weeks before they open up in December. The city comes up and helps string all those lights. So that is where Dwayne is tonight. We had a question, Dwayne, about what radio you were using to check in from Christmas Tree Lane.
Oh, this is, I don't know. It's a Radio Shack something or other. I don't know. I had it handed down to me from a friend of mine's dad, and it's a transistor model, 40 channel. It's not a tube radio.
Okay, someone had asked. I didn't think so. I thought, well, maybe the ICO does go portable, but that would be a little much. And then, as you may have heard before, the last couple of years, SWL 47, Mike has actually braved during the walk night. 2 times out of the year when they do Christmas Tree Lane, there's a walking only night. Right now, the cars are driving down the lane, and Mike takes his walkie-talkie and braves bending his antenna under the trees to check in. So we've never had a mobile radio check-in before, and I'm hoping that you are, I'm assuming you're not running a lot of power and turning off the displays as you key down.
Oh, no, I don't know how much this little radio puts out. I have no idea, probably 4 watts or 3 watts or something, but and the noise on Christmas Tree Lane from the LEDs isn't very bad, so it's, I don't know, these LEDs are, they must be radio compliant.
Yeah, they can be nasty. I bought an LED work light. I was going to try and do some illumination in the room here, and the static and noise from that LED device is so bad I really can't even turn it on while I got the radio on here. So I have to be careful. All right, I'm going to let you enjoy the lane with your family there, but and you're not on an amplified microphone. If you were on a fancy radio with an amplified microphone, I would actually ask you to key up and hold the microphone safely, hold the microphonium out the window so we could hear all the music and things that goes on. But I have a feeling that we wouldn't hear much.
No, and I'm in a spot right now where I don't hear any music. I see the ghetto birds flying overhead, but other than that, it's all is calm and bright.
All right, I must admit that we have seen a lot. I've been seeing the police helicopter a lot tonight. There's another image of a little train display, but that's the likeness of what's going on in all the yards for 2 miles, believe it or not. This goes on for a long time, and they're probably creeping along at 3 miles per hour. So let you get back to driving safely there and enjoying the sights and sound, but I really appreciate you taking time out of your festivities there to share them with us and the SWLs and the entire world at oldtuberadio.net. Christmas Tree Lane here in Central California in Fresno, a tradition that has been going on since 1920 on that particular stretch of road. Thank you.
All right. Have a Merry Christmas, and we'll talk to you next week. Number 27, checking out.
Comment for OTR.
And the comment for OTR, go ahead, please. Over.
Well, thank you, Dennis. I don't mean to be picky-ish or snarky, but I believe that the trees on Christmas Tree Lane are actually deodoras, Cedrus deodora trees. I don't speak Latin, but I'm doing the best I can. However, just for the interest of those that may be listening that don't have those trees indigenous to their area, well, I use that word indigenous. Well, they're in my area, so I guess they're indigenous. But at any rate, I didn't mean a critical correction by any means, but they're not just pine trees. They're the cedars of Lebanon, the Cedrus deodoras. Okay, sorry.
No, point well taken. I'm going to try and find a picture of Van Ness Boulevard there during the day to demonstrate what Phil is talking about. And I should know because I have the deodar, what's it, Deodar, the deodar cedars. I have 3 of them in my yard, and one of them is, and these are very tall trees. These go 75, 100 feet with no problem. They have branches that stretch way out, and they droop. They kind of droop down. They'll go up. Let me see if I can. There it is. Okay, there's a daytime picture. You can see that these are the cedar trees. People might be thinking of pine trees like a Christmas tree style, but this is a little bit different. So let me put the shot there. But you can tell they have the very long extended branches, very kind of open but droopy. So there you go. Thank you, Phil, for that. And yes, I actually have one. And I'm hoping maybe to use my deodar cedar here in the future to hang an antenna near the top. I'm not sure how easy they are to climb. I've gone up about 35 or 40 feet in mine when I was looking down on the streetlights and kind of chickened out to go up any farther. But I'm hoping maybe I can find a reliable tree climber that will help me put my antenna up in one of those.
Well, now, Dennis, you know how far you can climb.
How far I can probably climb a lot farther, but the brain says this is how far you're going to climb. And the other thing I've noticed when you're climbing one of these cedar trees, because the branches sometimes are 4 or 5 feet apart, so you're sort of pulling yourself up. For those of us who are not good at tree climbing like myself, you kind of pull yourself up to the next large branch, and then when you want to go down, that little 4 or 5 foot drop going down is really hard to negotiate. So I can see how a cat can get stuck in a tree, because I almost did on mine. The Old Tube Radio Network, Real Radio's Glowing in the Dark. We are talking about the classic tube radios. We've got some fireworks going on outside. Classic tube radios from 1958 to 1978, and we hope to be checking them in.
Fireworks for Christmas? No, that's different.
That's Santa Claus accidentally ran into the power lines.
Yeah, that could be Rudolph's red nose.
But that would be a shocking development.
In more ways than one.
and electrifying. Hey, how about another radio?
Well, since this is the Old Tube Radio Network, another radio would be a good thing. Over.
Oh, well, in that case, go ahead and put down the E.F. Johnson Messenger 223. This one has the Silver Eagle D104.
I would imagine, being the popular radio that is, there were probably quite a few E.F. Johnsons under Christmas trees back in 1969 and 1970.
You know, I would have probably liked to have seen one of those myself, but that would have been a little bit too expensive for a Christmas present back then.
Yeah, like me, I was more in the walkie-talkie mode. We did get, I remember, my brother got the Sears little space station walkie-talkie thing in the late 60s. It had the code key on it and would tune in all 23 channels basically at the same time. I think they had like a super regenerative receiver. And so as you tune the dial, basically you got the strongest station that was in your neighborhood coming in. So a lot of times you were hearing whatever was happening on channel 6. But here's the real deal. If you're looking at oldtuberadio.net or on the video display at Google YouTube, this is a Messenger 223 on which Ed is talking, or one similar. I don't think this is the actual one that he's talking on, but it looks like a great radio, and it sounds like this.
Well, there you go. A nice, simple, easy radio. Can't get much easier than this. Just the 3 knobs on there. Turn it on. Set your volume. Although I found that the volume on these things seemed to be quite touchy. You move it just slightly, and it gets real loud real fast. And unfortunately, I did not get the original microphone with the Johnson and all that on it. But hey, what the heck? Any microphone, I guess, will do, as long as it has electronic switching. Because if you don't have the microphone plugged in, there's no receive on this one.
Yeah, got it wired for electronic switching, or if it's wired, some of them just have a little switch on the bottom, I think, for relay or electronic switching. And you will know if you have an electronic switching radio and things aren't wired correctly, you will hear nothing and think there is a problem with your radio. Still, I'm going to have to talk to Larry, Radio Ham Guy, and find out why they, on a big radio like that, why they went to electronic switching. Probably some method to their madness. Like I mentioned, 1969 to 1972 is when this Johnson Messenger 223 was manufactured. The original price around $200, and if you got the nifty bass microphone, which a lot of them came with, you'd add an extra $15 for that. This was not a mobile radio, by the way. They had the Messenger 2 and the Messenger 1, which would go 12 volts, or in some of them 6 volts. But this one here was strictly a bass radio.
Oh, there you go, bass radio. Nice and simple, easy. On this one, the little lights behind the S meter and the channel selector have been changed out with some blue LEDs. So it's got all these little nice new technology with it also.
You know, if you're going to change something on there cosmetically, probably a good way to do it. Kind of like taking your mid-century modern kitchen and putting in a magnetic induction cooktop. It looks good. It kind of fits, and it's a heck of a lot more convenient. So no problem with this. Radio number 4 tonight, the E.F. Johnson Messenger 223. Give us another key down. Thanks for bringing it by.
And thank you, Dennis. And I'll kick back and take a listen and see if I can't get at least one more set of tubes warmed up between now and the end.
All right, the Old Tube Radio Network here, and John Lee asking a question. Fireworks or equipment? John Lee, that's exactly what I was thinking. I started hearing that popping, and I'm thinking, So I listened off the headphoniums, and I'm not smelling anything bad, and like somebody's letting the smoke out. So I'm not sure exactly what that was. I'll have to go back in the replay and see what was going on. But all is well now on an Old Tube Radio kind of weekend here. A couple days before Christmas, our holiday show, if you will. And I appreciate everybody who is taking time out of their holiday events to jump into the radio room and key down the radios for us. I wanted to also say hello to those listening online from Fresno. Somerville, South Carolina is still hanging in with us, as well as Dallas, Georgia, and Fayetteville, North Carolina, all on the shortwave listener list. Toll House is in there. New York still hanging in with us. Virginia, hello to you. Madeira, Monterrey, Mexico, and who's new? Vernon, British Columbia, also tuning in. Let me see who's out watching the big video tonight. That would be EDA 396 out of Nashville, Tennessee, and probably a host of others who may not be as vocal as the rest of us, but enjoying the tube radios as well. Hopefully where you are, you can encourage your friends and fellow CB operators to get on the air once a night, 1 week a night. It doesn't have to be tube radios. It can be vintage transistor radios, vintage radios, or just the fact that you're all going to get on and have a great time like we all used to do before we had our noses buried in television and our cell phones, right? Anyway, we are looking for radio number 5 in the old tube radio network.
45.
And hello, Paul. I have a feeling you have radio 5 for us.
You bet. I've been waiting for this sort of thing to warm up and found out it was warmed up, but the switch was not making my volume control. So I had to clean it real fast. Now I think it's in the hanging there. We'll see. Anyways, the Air Castle 23-02.
All right, that is a new one for me. Air Castle. And give me the model number again, over.
23-02.
All right, Air Castle 2302. I recognize that style of radio. I don't know if this was an import chassis, but it looks a lot like the Fanon Fanfare. Reminds me of that, and I think Air Castle. Boy, I'm thinking here. May have been the manufacturer or the model that Montgomery Ward's put out. So this is probably the same as the Fanon Fanfare. Has good audio and a good signal. So we'll go back to you for transmission.
I don't believe he's talking as good as the Brownie was on his microphone. I never could get this radio really to do a good job. So I put on a Turner Plus 3. It seems like the best one I get to make it work. No, you're exactly right. They are exactly the same radio. Courier made these things. And Spiegel sold, if you remember Spiegel catalog, had them for sale in their catalog. They sold a number of them. But they are made by Courier. And other ones, and like I said, the Fanon and the other one, they're just twins with different color paint on them and a different name. Yeah,
Fanon Courier. There you go. Thanks for setting that straight. And the photo that we're seeing is the radio. It says it's from your collection, Paul. So this is the radio we're seeing is the radio that you're listening to. Very pretty. I always like the way they did the speaker with their circles cut out and nicely laid out. Very, very simple, but still nice with the S meter and the channel selector right there. I'll check the S meter, see where you're at. I guess if I'm going to fault anything comparing it to the Browning, of course, has that really nice, articulate, sharp audio with a lot of mid-range. This, and it could be the microphone selection. It's nice and loud, but it has a lot of low tones and not a lot of high tones. So sometimes to the ear, it sounds like it is not as loud because you don't have that high mid-frequency going on. But it's certainly loud enough and doing a good job for radio number 5. Back to you.
Yeah, this thing's got 23 channels there. It's got a blank in the middle, an empty slot. And you can put another channel, another crystal. I found out, got this radio, it had a crystal way below channel 1 in the thing, which is sure back there they didn't have much trouble talking to other people that way on the thing. Anyway, that's about it. And I guess everybody's kind of out partying and all that, which is great. So anyway, I got one more. Hopefully if I get it going, I'll check it in. Thanks, Dennis.
All right, yeah, 'tis the season. Like I said, I appreciate people who are grabbing some time to check in some more radios for us tonight. What we're listening to right now, the Air Castle 2302, made by Fanon Courier. The Air Castle, typically a manufacturer name used by like Spiegel Catalog or Montgomery Ward's, and doing a good job. S8 modulating up to S9, and nice loud audio, doing a good job. And I want to let people know that call is up in the foothills about 35 or 40 miles away from this station. So that is not a bad signal at all from that distance. And the radio is doing a fine job. This is a 11-tube radio with the final amp being the 6BQ5. Thanks for bringing it by.
Yeah, there's a big mountain, one giant mountain right in my way. If I get rid of that mountain, you'd really be able to hear me. I think I'll keep it like it is. Thanks, Dennis.
Yeah, or if I get brave enough to go up more than about 35 feet in that big cedar tree out front, maybe I get my antenna so we can get over the mountain as well. The Old Tube Radio Network, real radio's glowing in the dark. The jingle singers are trying to get them away from the eggnog and the cookies so they can tell us about that friendly place to be on Saturday nights.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you, wherever you are. The friendliest station for you by far is known to all as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
And we are listening for radio number 6.
Dennis?
This is the basic Dennis, over.
Well, I know we've got William. Can't even talk. Maybe later.
All right, but you do know that we have it, so. And we will be here. We've got another half hour before we kind of officially sign out for the holiday version of the Old Tube Radio Network. The fireworks have ceased, or else whatever was blowing up has decided to blow up all the way. So we'll listen for your radio check-ins on the Old Tube Radio Network.
Break OTR.
Whatever, that is loud. You got my attention through the headphones.
Oh, and it's doing its weird thing again. Oh, well, we'll see what happens here. This is the Robin T, 123, no B, and I can see the winking and blinking eye is doing some more stuff than it should.
Yeah, it's doing a crunchity, crackly thing that is extremely loud. So my guess is from the amount of audio that I'm hearing that it's doing, that is probably making that little magic iTube dance all the way to the top.
Yeah. Boy, I wish I knew what was causing the crackling situation. Don't like that one. I'm going to have to go through this thing, and I got some more tubes I need to go through on another radio here. Check it out while I've got the tube checker here, and make sure everything's okay, and kind of wiggle things around, and make sure all the contacts are working like they're supposed to.
Yeah, seems like it might be internal radio, because I think you can key the microphonium, and I'm assuming if you're not moving the key bar, switch, whatever you have, and the cable itself isn't moving around like a bad microphonium connection, that's all perhaps taking place inside the radio. There, and speaking of the radio, there it is. If you're looking at oldtuberadio.net on the video, it's the Robin T123. The magic iTube is right there in the center. And what Ed is seeing is those two, top and bottom, the lighter green illuminations will tend to touch together, meaning that either he's talking at 100% modulation or there are some gremlins. Yeah,
there we go. Well, it's not too bad. No, I see a little bit. Anyway, yeah, when you first key it up, if you dead key, the two little bars will just barely, well, maybe about a quarter, not even a quarter away, on the top and bottom will light up. And then as you modulate, they will slam together. And, yeah, it seems to be doing like it's supposed to right now. Hopefully that was at least a halfway decent transmission.
Oh, yeah, good transmission. Always good transmission, and relatively quiet from the Crackle item. The Robin T123 with 11 tubes and 2 transistors. Can run 12-volt DC with the proper cable, and I think you're running 115-volt AC with the proper cable, and Ed puts in a really good signal here at about 20 over, so that is his great full quieting signal. Radio number 6, the Robin T123, sort of the first in the trio of the Robin T123, the T123B, and the 240D. Give us another transmission, and thanks for bringing it by.
Oh, and thank you. Oh, that was doing something. Yep, there we go. Okay, man. We're definitely going to check that out. All right, we'll let you get to another radio or so, and I think, yep, I got enough time. I can warm one more up.
All right, and the first part of that transmission was something that hasn't done in a while. That was going into what we called the Frankenstein mode, which sounds like you have thrown the giant knife switch, and there are bolts, lightning bolts, zooming across the room or something. That's the one that's a little bit more fun sounding, and we worry about you when we hear that sound. So anyway, the radio's working. It is keyed up every time, and it's always had audio. So what can I tell you? It's an old tube radio, and we love it.
It's alive! Okay, I'll get another radio on.
No tubes were harmed in the making of this radio network.
You're listening in the latest style at
27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio.
In wonderful
Fresno, California.
Got me getting some water here, Paul, but I'm now hydrated and ready to take your transmission for Radio 7.
Okay, this thing was being ornery, trying not to work on it. It made it cut out on it, so I know what's wrong with it. It's just a matter of getting it in and fixing it. But anyway, got a Lafayette Comstack 35.
All right, good to hear the Lafayette's out there. Like I always mentioned before, when we first started the net, Lafayette's, a lot of Lafayette radios. I don't not know what happened to all the Lafayette's out there, because they're a good workhorse radio. Sold a lot of them. Here is one of the rarer ones. We're all familiar with the 25, 25A, the 25B, and hopefully, yeah, there we go. We've got a shot of the Lafayette Comstat 35. It's interesting. The one we're showing, Bose Control would like this radio. It's got a big red, like a red proboscis there. A red dial. I don't know if yours is like that or not, over.
Mine doesn't have the red nose on it, doggone it. I don't know what happened to it. I guess somebody didn't like it. I'd like to find another one and put on there. I think it's kind of neat. Anyway, it's made in Korea, believe it or not. Sure, it's South Korea. Anyway, made by Panasonic. They must have been swapping around a little bit. Anyway, I'll get a bit more, but come back. You probably got more to say about it. Back to you.
Okay, well, I'm not sure. Sometimes I like to let the radios speak for themselves, but in the day, the Panasonic chassis, I think all had around 11 tubes. This is similar. It's got 11 tubes, but they're not. Obviously, there's a 12AT7, a 12AX7 in there, 6BQ5. So the standard complement, but sounding pretty good. if you told me, I forgot to write it down. What type of microphone are you running with that?
Yeah, well, I don't know about the original microphone. I don't have one. I'm using an Aesthetic D104M6B on the thing, and it seems to like it real well. It's a pretty powerful little radio anyway. But like I said, it's made in Korea. Japanese made a lot of these things. Matter of fact, they made a whole bunch of them for that same outfit, I guess. That's just a 23 channel with a blank space in the middle of it also. So other than the few radios that are made by different companies, they're exactly the same, just about.
Yep, that has good audio. It's not really loud, but the fidelity and the quality is good. It sounds your voice sounds like you would sound on FM. It's not tailoring it with lots of lows or lots of highs or anything. Very, very natural sound. So if you had a little bit of amplification, it'd make it a little bit louder, but you really don't need it. And in the early 70s radios, when they started synthesizing the crystals, and I think what I'm trying to say by that, instead of having one crystal per channel, and you had 23 crystals for 23 channels or sets of crystals, they were able to do multiplications of using a set of 14 crystals or 11 crystals where you had a block of 5, another block of 5 with multipliers. And so in doing that, you came up with between channel 2 and channel 22 and channel 23, there was that space with 27.225 and 27.235 and 245. So the blank typically would have been those two 10 kilohertz slots where there were RC channels, because the RC channels in between channel 11 and I think there's one from channel 3. So the RC channels were included because you had the frequencies going up by 10 kilohertz. So the little blank spot, if on some of the radios you could go in and cut a wire, and that would give you channel 22A, which I think is now channel 24, and maybe even 22B at the time, which is now channel 25. If you look on a frequency chart of the channels, when you look at 22, 23, 24, 25, you will notice that everything goes in line, in 10 kilohertz steps, and you get to channel 22 and you get to channel 23, and then channel 24 and 25 are not in order because 24 and 25 are in interfrequencies between 22 and 23, and that's where these radios came in for the synthesis. But you might have a channel. It used to be the secret channel. I remember that I had a realistic radio that had 22A, and I went in. I don't tell anybody, but I went in and cut the little green wire, and I had channel 22A in the blank spot between 22 and 23, and that was the secret frequency that you could always turn to when you wanted to have a conversation that nobody could hear you, even though they could.
Yeah, you used to be able to, the single crystals just change them without any problem. Now, on these, if you lose one bank, that's usually 4 crystals. So, I just like the old way better. I'm sorry. I really do. Oh, by the way, this thing's got a range boost on it. It might be too much. I'll turn it on. Is it too much?
No, actually, that sounds really good. Let's talk about that for a little bit, because it brought up a little bit of bass frequencies, and it brought your audio up just a little bit. Remember how before I said if you had just a little bit of amplification, not like room echoing off the walls, I think that's it. Try another transmission.
Okay, good. I try to keep the microphone set so it'll operate both of them, because one of you overdoes it, and the other way you do it, you underdo it. So you got to have it just set right on these type of mics. That's about one thing about the stock mic. You don't have that problem with this thing. But of course, probably 50% of the radios that I got didn't have any microphones. Anyway, yeah, that's really interesting on the crystals. You can carry on with that all evening. I'd enjoy it. I probably Harvey'd like to get in there on that too. But I'll tell you what, they've changed a lot.
Yeah, and what you mentioned before, if you lost one of the multiplier in the blocks, you would lose 4 or 5 channels, and that's what happened to my Regency Imperial. I lost the multiplier block, or the crystal that blocks the channel 11, and it would go bad. I used to be able to put aluminum foil over and keep the thing heated up, but eventually that wouldn't work, so I think I've got a Regency range gain. I might be able to scavenger and see if I can make those work, but that was a common problem on some of those, where the crystals would get off frequency or just go out, and you would lose the 4 channels in the synthesis. Really nice. I hope you listen to the archives on this one. The difference is subtle when you have the range boost on, but it's a little bit louder. It sounds good either way. There's a little bit more amplification, of course, but it's not overdone. That's what I was afraid of. If you were to put an amplified mic on that, you'd have it overdone and it would be mushy. The range boost does just enough. So if someone's having some trouble hearing you, that would be a good way to do it. Otherwise, you probably don't need to have it at all. We are talking with Paul. He's on the Lafayette Comstat 35. I'm not sure if that was their last tube radio or not. It might have been, at least under the Lafayette moniker. That is the 11 tubes made in Korea from a Panasonic chassis, doing a good job. If you've got another transmission in the radio, give it to us before you go. Thanks for bringing it by. Radio number 7 from Lafayette.
Yeah, Panasonic, they were pretty particular on everything. I'm sure they really checked everything before they had them, rebuild them over there. Just say rebuilding or build them, manufacture them, I guess. I don't know whether they sent over things or they had everything there. I don't know how they operated, but they did a heck of a job. These radios were really popular. They went into a lot of different names and different radios with Panasonic, but they were all pretty top-notch radios. Anyway, thanks, Dennis, for checking it in, and we'll be listening.
All right, anybody who is our age remembers, especially around Christmas time, going through the Radio Shack, Allied Radio Shack catalog, and especially the Lafayette Communications, the LRE, Lafayette Radio Electronics catalogs, where not only do they have a lot of CB radios, stereos, and record players, turntables, recorders, parts, and pieces. The days of the Lafayette catalog, and this would have been in one of them probably in the early 1970s. Thanks for bringing it by, the old Tube Radio Network. Real Radio's Glowing in the Dark. We have been doing this for almost 35 years, on the air at 27085, which is where we are now, in Central California, listening for radio number 8.
OTR.
And the break OTR, please proceed.
Okay, I don't want to check in a radio, but this is 82. Anyway, I got a question. That last little, not advertisement, but the last voice that wasn't yours on the OTR, not the Jingle Singers, but after them, that voice. How old is that little commercial, and who is that voice?
Okay, I think you are talking. Trying to think, because I don't know of any other voices. Let's maybe give a demonstration. I think you are talking about our Jingle Singers that sound something like this.
What are the magic numbers?
27.085 megahertz, channel 11.
Are the magic letters?
OTR.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Radio Magic.
Old Tube Radio.
For you.
Is that sort of what you're referring to, over?
Yeah. You probably said it before, but if you haven't said it, maybe don't give the answer and ask next week if anybody knows who that is. But you've probably already given that out. But anyway, that's kind of interesting who it was.
All right, well, let's see. I'll tell you about the Jingle Singers. It's sort of like asking about Santa Claus, because the Jingle Singers are sort of our mystique here at the old Tube Radio Network, where somewhere beyond the audio wall here is that studio with the RCA ribbon microphones and the orchestra and Mr. Announcer and the Jingle Singer. So here is the true story on an almost Christmas Eve of the OTR Jingle Singers. About 30 years ago or so, maybe even more than that, a friend of mine who then worked at what was KMJ, when they were just KMJ Radio, when they were down in a different location. One of the engineers and on-air guys there, they were going through, moving, and throwing some things away, and he came across these, what we'll call transcriptions, which were old 12-inch, 15-inch records. And he put one on the old turntable back when they had turntables, and it turned out to be these jingles that you have been hearing with the appropriate singers, and then spaces in between of just music where you could put your local ID. And knowing at the time that we had been starting the old Tube Radio Network, and knowing that at that time we were always looking for something to keep things flowing, keep a little interest, he went ahead and produced some inserts, which you hear the Mr. Announcer talking about 27085 in the old Tube Radio Network, and carted those up for me and brought them over here to the studio. So what you're actually hearing is some actual radio jingle singers from probably the mid-1960s off of a record transcription with the announcer voice, who is actually still on the air. You actually hear him today over on FM at 88.1. He is still on the air. And our jingle singers, and customized only. You will not hear these anywhere else, and I doubt you will hear the jingle singers anywhere else, because when KMJ moved one of their many moves, we decided we have to go back there and we have to physically, before they throw them away, physically get those transcriptions so that we can have them. But alas and alack, they were all already gone. So this is a rare thing indeed, the jingle singers, but they live on every Saturday night when we glow in the dark. Over.
Okay. So the voice is still on the air and on that other radio station. Does he announce his name when he's on that other radio station?
Sometimes he does. Yes, indeed, sometimes he does.
All righty. Interesting. That's very interesting. All right. Thanks, Dennis.
All right, and thanks for asking. I take our jingle singers for granted over there, because they kind of shovel in here every Saturday and make a little bit of a mess, but they do provide a great service in rousing the troops and getting people ready to check in. And like I said, those who have been listening in for quite some time or have been with us on the net for the 30-plus years know the jingle singers and Mr. Announcer, because they've heard them, what, 1 million times by now?
Oh, yeah. Mr. Announcer, though, what other things has he done? Has he done any other, say, commercial voiceover type things, or he's just, must have been a popular announcer back in the day, maybe? How old of a guy is he?
He's about my age. Normally, he is behind the scenes. He's more into engineering and cabling and things like that. So that's why at that time he was doing some engineering work for KMJ and the radio stations there. But he would occasionally get on the air. So basically, radio. I don't think he's done any television stuff where I can. I can speak differently on that, but basically a radio all the way, and definitely you will hear him these days on the FM station.
All righty. Okay, thanks, Dennis. That's pretty cool. Good info.
But the old Tube Radio jingle singers, and a classic original, and it's also using that kind of cha-cha bossa nova tunes, music that probably in the early 60s and mid-60s was popular then, and it is very apropos for what we do here at the old Tube Radio Network, checking in those radios that are 50 and 60 years old. We are listening for radio number 8.
Number 7.
And Mr. Ed in front of a microphonium that sounds. Give me a T.
Okay, that probably works better if I have it on the right setup. We'll try that one more time and see if that works.
It's sounding good. Over.
Okay, here we go with the Tram TR27 Echo with the Electro Voice 638 microphone.
Yeah, I'm getting good at discerning on that one, because the the microphone gives that radio, it's a very unique sound. Tram TR27 Echo for our listeners and viewers. I'll see if I can pop up a shot, because we are lucky enough to actually have a picture of the big green machine that is the one on which your microphone is connected.
Oh, that would be correct. You have a picture of the very radio on which I am speaking, and yes, it is quite large. The speaker is a 5x7, and the S meter is about 3 inches tall and 3.5 inches wide.
The speaker as big, perhaps, as some of the radios are today, and that's just the speaker, but you had to have a little bit of room to get in there and work on the component parts and pull the tubes in and out. No surface mount technology going on there. If you like big and bold, this is the radio for you. From Tram, their TR27 series. This is the E model from believe it or not, 1963. Over.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, this one, the E model, had the full 23-channel complement of transmit crystals, whereas the others, you had a number that you would pick and choose from to put in. And being as the chassis is the same as the C and D model, the top has, right on the very top, in the right-hand corner to the front, there's a little plate right there, 2 screws, pull it off, and your crystals are right there, so you can take in and out the ones you need with ease.
Pretty cool. Now, I do see the 2 knobs. You've got the center knob with the wider opening. I'm going to say that's the receive, and then you have transmit. So this is a transmit. This is a transceiver, because it's in one box, but it has a separate transmitter and receiver built in, so I'm assuming you must have to spot yourself in somehow?
Oh, that would be correct. The S meter, right below the big S meter, there is a spot switch. It's a little red switch. You press on that and tune your receive in to where you are transmitting. And that way you can actually be on the same spot.
Which is a good thing, unless you do kind of crossbanding. If you had someone else in 1963 that had a Browning or something, where you could do the crossband. I don't know if that was, if you looked at the rules at that time, or if that was actually legal to do. As long as you were crystal controlled, where you would be talking and listening on 14 or talking and transmitting on 23, so it'd be a little bit hard for somebody to find you, although it'd be very confusing. As someone would start talking, they wouldn't hear anyone talking. So I don't think a lot of people did that, on purpose anyway. I know a lot of people did that not on purpose, because they forgot to spot their radio, but you are spotted correctly and sounding mighty fine on Radio 8. It's the Tram TR27E, is sounding good. Give us another transmission.
Thank you very much. I'm afraid that will be the last radio for the night, being as it's almost the 10 o'clock hour there. So we'll go ahead and kick back and take a listen to the rest of the radios.
Okay. You know, my clock, my big Micronta 2-inch LED clock, which is over on the other side of one of the audio pieces, somehow has fallen down or sunk below. So I've got all these cables sticking up, and I didn't notice the time being so late. I've just been having I've been having so much fun that I didn't notice that I should be counting and mounting. I'm going to, if you're at oldtuberadio.net, here I'm going to put an advertisement for the Tram TR27 series. I'm not sure if that's an E. I guess that is. It looks a little different. No, it's the same one, but you can, if you really zoom in on your screen, you might be able to read. It's a very technical advertisement. It tells you how to tune the radio up, and it says, listen to this. Now, all Tram equipment is covered by a 12-month guarantee transferable to any subsequent owner, the warranty with your set. So this is 1963, folks. What happened? What has happened to our quality? They're giving you a 12-month guarantee, and they're transferring it. It belongs to the radio, not who bought the radio, but it goes with the radio. So as long as you keep the paperwork with it, I don't know if anybody does that now, but that's a good company that guarantees their equipment to work for 12 months, no matter where it is. Good stuff here on the Old Tube Radio Network. We'll be looking for radio number 9.
Quality goes
Absolutely. Boy, that was way down. Who was the break OTR?
Number 20.
Number 20. All right. Let me reconnoiter here so I don't break something. And we will say 20, go ahead, and I'll see if I can copy your item of interest. Yeah, if it's receiving me, it's receiving well, because you know what kind of a peanut whistle I am here at Net Control. And it's transmitting well. I don't think you have the Harvey range boost on. I'm going to check. I think you're actually in my noise level. That is to say, when you key up, or is it key down? I never remember. But when you key the transmitter, that's right, because you're a transmitter receiver. When you key the transmitter, I'm not sure I see any signal change, but I hear your audio, and it's really clear. And that is usually a sign of a great radio when you are not moving the needle or any of that stuff, but I hear your audio crystal clear. So come through again. I'll see you're actually putting in a signal here.
Well, I should be putting a signal in now. The transmitter came equipped with a switch in the back. Now, the only way to get this thing to work halfway decent, where it won't squeal or feedback, because this thing is old, is to do the happy medium between the low and the high. That means kind of sacrificing a little bit on each. And I believe the signal is going to be a lot better. And the audio should be okay, I hope.
The audio is good. The audio has always been good. Yeah, now I'm actually seeing some movement on the meter. I think my noise level is about an S7. You're keying it up at about an S8 and a little bit of forward movement off of that, but really clean, articulate audio. Not full quieting, as you'll hear if you listen to the archives, but you're actually not that close. Your antenna's low, my antenna's low. But just a great sound for a radio that is, just an S unit above the noise level. Over.
Okay. Well, if I wanted to tweak it, I could probably do more, but we'll leave it the way it is. This is the 6-channel version of the transmitter. The TX11, I believe, came in 6 channels. 5 crystals inside and an external from the factory on the outside, and they came with, I believe, a 12-channel version. The transmitter is of the Baby Buddy sort, similar to Paul's Baby Buddy, which has the smaller final and modulator tube. His has a 6CL6 final and a 6AQ5 modulator. This has a 6360 final, which is similar, but we'll call it the industrial of the 6CL6, and also a 6AQ5 modulator. So it's actually got small tubes.
All right, if there's such a thing as small tubes, I guess it's not. Some of them have a 6L6, or you could put a 6L6 in it. For those looking at the video or the photo we have, and that is from what Harvey said, that actually is the radio he's using. Very pretty with the black case and the gold copper front. Like the Browning, the smaller set, the set that's not as wide as the transmitter, looks like you can see the 6 channels on that, and it has a meter and a light, and then the larger one with the vernier with a tuning dial across the front is the receiver. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4 knobs across that, and a switch and a meter as well. So, and there's also a speaker. Is that an actual speaker that came with it? I know some of them had an on-the-air speaker, but the one we're seeing looks a little bit more homebrew. Over.
No, this is the actual speaker that came with the set. The person originally was selling just the receiver. I saw the receiver on eBay, and I go, well, I think I know what that might be. And I sent him a message saying I was going to bid on it, but you wouldn't happen to have the other 2 parts. And they said, oh, yeah, we have the other 2 parts. So I made them an offer, and they accepted, and there you go. This is, let's see, I've got a serial number on the back of this one here. Let's see. This one is serial number, where is it? It's here somewhere, I think. Well, the receiver is serial number 91. And the transmitter is serial number 270. Now, the receiver does not say serial number. It's just got a 91 kind of painted on, similar to how they painted the whole other radio. So there you go. So I think that's it. So 91 and 270, unfortunately, doesn't match, but I'm not complaining. The location is Marina Communications, Santa Maria. Although it doesn't say Santa Maria on the receiver, the meter says Marina Communications. The transmitter has a Hoyt meter, which made all of them, I think, but it doesn't say Marina Communications. On the back, though, printed in nice, easy-to-read, clear printing, is Marina Communications Box 124, get this, Culver City. So I believe this one is in Culver City. That's right, the meter doesn't say Santa Maria on the receiver, just says Marina Communications. So, apparently Marina Communications was in Santa Maria and Culver City.
Well, that's interesting. Well, drive by Culver City a lot, not by Santa Maria. Now, you answered my question. I was going to see if that's an Autronics or the Marina Communications. It's odd. Why would someone want to sell just part of it? It's good that you sort of queried them into, is there another piece of this radio, since you knew that there was, and picked up the whole thing. But I'm just kind of not sure why someone would just sell part of that radio. It wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be good unless if you bought it or if you kept it. It's like, well, I'm just missing the other part because I sold any of it. But I'm glad you rounded it up, got it together, and it's back on the air and beaconing worldwide in the old Tube Radio Network here. So we take our hats off and all that good stuff to our Tube Radio operators that rescue these radios from wherever they are, get them going, and put them on the air for all of us to enjoy. Again, the audio is superb. It is the kind of audio that, for those of us who kind of grew up with the radios here, always had the jaw-dropping. You always knew when a buddy was on, whether it was unmodified or not. And like I said, even with your lower signal, the audio is doing a good job, and no problem. The question I have: the two radios together, I believe there is on a Browning, there's one cable that connects things. Is it similar with the Buddy base, or do you have some strange cabling that putting those two together you need to do?
Well, fortunately, it came with the cable. And the cable for this one is wired a little different than the TX11B because you have the on-the-air speaker light, speaker box with the light in it. This one doesn't have a light in it, as you can see from the picture. But it has the cable, so we're all set there, and it has the coax cable. I'm pretty sure that came with it. Did not come with a microphone, though. But I happen to have a golden black Night Eagle mic, so it kind of matches the radio. And I kind of stole a gold Amphenol 4-pin mic plug from a Parts Courier Royale, which came with gold plugs if you were lucky enough to get it, and put it on the mic. So I've got a gold mic plug to go with it. Anyway, I kind of like this one. It's working, not as well as I would hope with the receiver, but it is working. I can hear you, and I'm happy with it. Not going to mess with it anymore. As long as it functions the way it's going to be. And anyway, that's it. And I might check in one more.
Okay, we've got plenty of room to get you checked in on the list. We're a little bit over time, but that's not a problem. And we enjoy the radios, and that's why we are here, and that's why we've been doing it for so long. Harvey is talking on a very rare item, the Buddy base, the TX11 and the RC11, the picture that we were showing you there, and doing a good job. Like I said, the signal is not that strong. He's not really too close to me, but the audio is just crystal clear and superb, busting through just fine, and we're glad you've got that going. And it's a pretty radio, too, one of the transmitter-receiver style, so I'll let you go and maybe get set up with another radio, and we'll see if there's anybody else out there would like to check in before we go away. I think the Jingle Singers need to talk to us, so we'll do that.
Let's do some spelling.
OTR. 27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio. Old Tube Radio.
And since I'm keyed up here, we'll stay keyed up and say hello to Dennis, SWL28, who's waving a hand at oldtuberadio.net. Managed to see you and get you checked in. Merry Christmas there, Dennis. And also the mighty KUH, Brian, is listening in the wee hours tonight on Christmas Eve, I think where he's at, and he is on his TR7. His radios tonight, his vintage radios on the TR7 tonight. So 73 to you, Brian, and happy holidays, Merry Christmas as well. Always good to have Brian jump in and wave the hand here on the West Coast. We are looking for Radio 10 and counting and amounting.
Will this do?
That'll do. That'll get us up to double digits with Radio 10 over.
Okay, want to do double digits. The Browning Golden Beagle from Browning Laboratories, with the custom B104, the medallion on the back. Anyway, that should do it for me, and I'll turn it back to you. I take it you can hear this one.
Oh, I can hear that one just fine. Also, really nice audio. That, as you know, that's probably why it's your fave radio. Just It never skips a beat. You have it tweaked, peaked, tuned, and you know what it's going to do.
Oh, yeah. I like this one. This was the first one I got. Well, I had the Mark III already when I moved here, but this was the first one I got when I moved here. back in whenever I moved here. Anyway, found at a garage sale. Guy had it in the paper. Garage sale, TV, radio, other stuff. And I went over there, and he had this, a Mark, he had this one, and a 180 little helper, and this microphone. And I go, oh, what you want for it? When he told me, I said, okay, and did it right then. This was before I even got introduced to eBay, way in the back, long time ago. The 180 had a broken tube in it, and I couldn't figure out where to get another tube for it. And then my wife said, hey, try eBay. Oh boy. Okay, worst day. She said, almost the worst day ever. Anyway, so this was the first one I got when I moved here. Of any other extra radio. I just had the Mark III. Okay, turn it back to you. The R68T68 by Browning Laboratory.
There you go. Yeah, you never forget the first ones, right? And, what did we do? What did we do with that eBay? Although I have not been, I will admit, I've not been in eBay in years. I used to frequent it quite a lot. And I clicked on the other day just to check stuff, and it's like, things are a lot different. Things are definitely a lot different than it was 6 or 7 years ago. So I'm going to have my eBay guru sometimes tell me how you circumnavigate through what is now eBay. There's different ways to pay and stuff like that, but there's still good stuff if you can find it. Just kind of can get overwhelming. So that's why it's always nice to have Uncle Joe's garage and thrift stores and yard sales, because these radios occasionally do show up there as well. And thanks to our tube radio operators who are astute enough to find these bargains and spend their time and their money to put them in their collections and then share them with us. That's a great thing, and that's why I think why the old tube radio network has been going for so long. All right, it's getting that time. I'm going to be doing some counting and amounting, and we'll be wrapping things up here on coming up on a Christmas Eve old tube radio network. So we're listening and counting and amounting.
OTR. Channel 11.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Stay with us
Old Tube Radio.
and be modern.
As modern as one can be when you're in front of your 50-year-old radio doing what you might do on a Saturday night, talking to the Old Tube Radio Network.
This is the Old Tube Radio Network. Ladies and gentlemen, stand by. It's time now for the current OTR totals.
The current and final totals at about 15 minutes after 10 o'clock here on the Pacific Coast. The Old Tube Radio Network, 27085, where we are currently transmitting and listening, Channel 11, to those classic tube radios that you may have been listening along with us, whether you're at Channel 11, oldtuberadio.net, on the Google YouTube video. We are here to, have fun, kind of recreate what we did, what a lot of us did 40 or 50 years ago on a Saturday night before there were other distractions. Let me tell you about what goes on tonight. We had 10 check-ins on page 1 on the SWL side, 18 on page 2, 13 on page 3, and 15 on page 4 for a total of 56. Not bad tonight at all. 56 check-ins for a week 7 on the 8-week roster. And radios tonight, we managed to get up to 10. I wasn't sure how many we were going to get tonight because a lot of people busy doing holiday things, as you might expect. We appreciate those who stopped by and waved a hand at us. Most heard manufacturer tonight. It was about a 9-way tie, I think, until we got a couple Brownings in there. So we had 1, 2, 3. But let's go over what we did have, because they're all good, and they're all glowing in the dark, which is a good thing if you're having an old tube radio network. Radio number 1, Chris on the General Radio Telephone Super MC11A. Paul tonight on the Golden Eagle, the Browning Mark II Series B. That is a pretty radio, Paul. I like the Mark IIs. The Radio 3 tonight, Mr. Ed on his Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB, giving us a little demonstration of the secret ping switch, changing those capacitors to suit your flavor, whether it's long, medium, or extra long in the ping department. Radio number 4, SWL7 on the E.F. Johnson Messenger 223. The Aircastle 2302, a nice-looking radio and a good-sounding radio, Paul. Thanks for that. Radio 5, Radio 6, the Robin T123 in its various modes, audio modes for Radio 6. Radio 7, Paul on the Lafayette Comstat 35. Don't hear too many of those, but we got one tonight. The Tram TR27E Classic Audio from a Classic Radio for Radio number 8. Thank you, Ed, for that. Radio number 9, Harvey on his Buddy TX11 RC11 with the matching speaker. That is the Culver City Marina Communications. Have to get the address. See what's there now. I doubt there's a Marina Communications, but who knows? And then the Browning Golden Eagle R68 T68 checking in for Radio 10 tonight. Let me make sure that I have answered any and all questions tonight on the video and audio streaming side. Looks like we got everybody taken care of, and still a few of you listening into the wee hours of Saturday, Sunday here. Hello, Fresno. Dallas, Georgia still in. Thanks. Virginia still in. Nashville, Tennessee, Madera, California, Fresno, and a host of others. Reminder that this show is archived. You can hear your radio. Give yourself a radio check on the archive at oldtuberadio.net. Look for the date, the Saturday date which you want to listen to, and whether it's an SWL or tube radio check-in. And what else was I going to say? Also, the YouTube videos stay up for a little while, a couple of weeks or so, if you want to check out things that way. Thanks to SearchLawrence.com and Frodex for keeping the Nixie tubes and all things digital running, and thanks to all of you for keeping us running 30-plus years with your radio check-ins, and, of course, the shortwave listeners that wave in a hand and enjoy it just like I do. 73, everybody. We will catch you next week as we bring in the new year. I'll figure out whether we're 35 or 36 years or 34 years. Anyway, it's been a long time. I hope you all have a great holiday season, whatever you might do, a Merry Christmas. And if you are not on the right side of Santa's list, if you are not under the right N on Santa's list, you have very little time to correct it, so go for it. Good night, everybody.
Good night, Dennis. Great net. Merry Christmas to one and all from SWL number 7.
Good night, Dennis.
And good night to the video.